to the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
All right, everyone. How you doing? Good morning, good evening, half a day, aloha, all the above. Once again, this is Words from the Wise, soon to be hopefully your mentor's favorite leadership podcast. My voice is kind of scratchy today. I taught all day with the cadets. I actually taught them today the book, Who Moved My Cheese. So that was a pretty interesting topic, but I spent a lot of time using my vocal cords today. So I'm going to apologize for that in advance. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to have a special guest with us today. Today, I have a guest. She goes by the name of Dr. Nelva Lee. Dr. Nelva Lee comes to us out of the great state of Georgia. She's somebody who founded the Medical Interpreting Trade School, which was a trade school to help people get into the medical field. From there, she went on to start the Concrete Bill business, where she leaned into the cryptocurrency space, where she's leveraging real estate to back cryptocurrency as well as multiple other financial type of deals and or business ideas. And she's also currently running to be the Georgia Superintendent of Schools, which is super exciting. Really looking forward to hearing why the heck she decided to throw her hat into that arena. And so without further ado, let me welcome to the stage Dr. Nelva Lee. How you doing, Dr. Lee?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me tonight, Gary.
Hey, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm still beginning this journey of the whole podcast thing, and it's been a lot of fun receiving the emails from people that hear about the show somewhere and that want to join me. So thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
All right, so Dr. Lee, I called you Dr. Nelva in the email. What'd you think about that one?
It's fine. It's my name.
Had you heard that before?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. All right, Dr. Nelva. I'm going to stick with Dr. Nelva. All right,
Yep.
Dr. Nelva. I am curious. Before you founded that medical interpreting trade school, what was your path to becoming a doctor? Like, what was your drive? Because that's a lot of schooling.
It is.
It really it is. So just what was your backstory as to what got you to really be into education?
So actually, my doctorate's in healthcare administration. And so I have a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate all in healthcare administration. And I can tell you, I've always been fascinated with healthcare. And from very early on, I was in high school and I would volunteer at our local hospital on the weekends. And so I knew I was going to go into healthcare. I just didn't know what I wanted to do in healthcare. I considered being a medical doctor, but I really wanted to be more hands-on and with the, operation of things. That's really, I realized very early on that I have really good leadership skills. And so I wanted to be able to utilize those. And so healthcare administration really was the best, outcome for that. Now, as far as me becoming a doctor, this is a funny story. I have really horrible penmanship, Gary. And I realized this back when I was like in fifth grade, and I was, all the other girls had these beautiful, cursive writing that was just really beautiful, all with their O's and all that. And I remember complaining to my dad. I was like, Dad, I don't have really pretty penmanship. And he's like, don't worry about it. You're going to be a doctor someday. So
Ah.
stuck in my head. I was like, well, I guess doctorate is really the ultimate goal for me. So, but fun fact, I really just love education. I love learning. I would have 2, 3 doctorates if it was free. So
Right.
it's
Right.
expensive. Uh,
It really
but,
is. It
but
really
that,
is.
that was a little bit of my story why I ended up getting a doctorate.
Well, and the reason why I ask is, I teach high school full time.
Yes.
And so, and a lot of my listeners are high school kids, my high school
Okay.
students or family members, at least to my knowledge. I mean, I do understand that we're growing, and fun fact, we got a lot of listeners in like South America now and Europe. So that's kind of
Nice.
cool. I
Yes.
know, right? It's weird. Everybody listening, shout out. We appreciate y'all, right? That's
Yes.
amazing. But these high school kids that I get the chance to hang out with every day are going through the process of trying to figure out what they do next. right?
Right. Yes.
And I was wondering kind of what you were thinking about when you were in high school as you had to make the choice as to what was next. Like, did you know, and like you said, you wanted to be a doctor when you were younger because of the handwriting, the penmanship thing. But was there also something that happened in high school where you're like, I'm definitely going to college next?
Oh, well, college was never a question for me. I can't ever recall saying I wasn't going to college.
Okay.
It was definitely like, what am I going to major in? And so, as I mentioned, I loved healthcare, but I also loved politics. I had taken a political science course as a sophomore, and it was like an honors course, and they had us debating in there, and I loved debating. And
Mhm.
had us doing a lot of like taking different sides of topics, and I just found it fascinating, and I honestly thought I was gonna get into go to the political science route. But I
Mhm.
just didn't see a lot of passion for that per se. I love more advocacy. I love the leadership part of politics, not necessarily the grunt work. And so I'm glad I went into healthcare. But what I can
Right.
tell you, your listeners, if they're really trying to figure out what's next or what's my purpose, what's my purpose in this world, there's a couple of books that I highly recommend. The first is The Purpose Driven Life, right, by Rick Warren. And there's a workbook that comes along with it. It's like a 40-day workbook. And it
Right.
really gets you thinking about, what are your talents? What are some of the things that you do well? What are some of the things that you're passionate about? And it gets you thinking about what's the next step. And then the other book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the books that I read, Stephen Covey, very early in life. I think I was in my early 20s, and it's just been a guiding principle for me. Just how it just really helps to uh, formulate your life in terms of principles.
Right.
And so, highly recommend those 2 books to your high schoolers.
Definitely, definitely. And like I said in the opening, today I did Who Moved My Cheese. We
Very good
also do
book.
it's a great, but it's an amazing book, right?
Yes.
An amazing concept. And all the kids wanted to know what happened to him, right? Did he die? Did he make it? And I told myself, ultimately that's your choice, right? You get to
Mhm.
determine whether or not that person made it and found their cheese or not.
Right.
Um, and then for the habits book, we actually have that in our classroom, and we use that as a part of our curriculum every year. And what's cool is I get to see these kids really go from 14 to 18 years old,
Yeah.
right? And so much growth happens in those 4
Yes.
years. It's incredible.
Yes, it
And
does.
I was military most of my adult life, well, all my adult life until I retired. And so I would get these young 18, 19-year olds that were such babies, right?
Mhm.
Now these 18, 19-year olds are like the grandfathers of the high school, and they look so much older. I
Right.
guess because I've seen them grow for the 4 years.
That's awesome.
Now, I also know you're super involved in the trade school space, and that's why
Mhm.
you started your trade school.
Right.
And of course, I'm sure you highly recommend to people that they consider the trade school space. I'm a big fan of the trade school space, and I'm curious to know why do you want people to make sure they consider trade schools when they're making their plans for life after high school?
Right. So I truly believe that we need to have trade schools as part of your high school diploma pathway. And that is because I want to see all high school graduates graduate workforce ready. And I don't want for trade schools to be only for those kids that aren't college bound, right? Because there
Mm,
are people that decide to forego college altogether. I got a trade school, Gary, the summer between my junior and senior year in high school because I knew I was going to go into healthcare and I didn't have a way to pay for college. And so that was my path. I decided I was going to get a good paying certificate, good paying job in healthcare. And it turns out that it worked out. Not only did it pay my way through college, but once I finished my degree, I had a really great paying job because I had experience in the industry. So I
right.
highly recommend, whether they're college bound or not, to get a trade certificate. But also, for those that are not college bound, those that have decided I'm not going to go to the college route, it gives them a career, not just hopping from job to job, but it gives them the opportunity to get a career under their belt, even if they decide to change it later on. This is a skill set that they'll always be able to fall back on.
Definitely. what I love about the trade space is that it doesn't take nearly as long,
Right.
right? And
More
it's
expensive.
right. And well, and unfortunately, college has developed this reputation as being a money making industry, not so much always an educational industry, right? And there's so many different flavors of college in the world today. I mean, I've done all my schooling online, right? My
Yep.
oldest son is currently doing dual enrollment as a high school senior, and so he is doing classes in person, he's doing classes in line, and he does 4 high school classes a
Oh,
day,
wow.
which is an amazing thing, right? At a very reasonable price because he goes to the local they don't really call them community
Community.
college anymore, but the local
Right.
college, right?
Correct. Yes.
Which is awesome for me. And to your other point about the trade, my son, he did 2 years in a program at our high school called the Future Educators of America. And through that program, he was then able to take a test for a paraprofessional certification.
Very nice. Very nice.
Exact,
Yep.
yeah, it's amazing, and there's multiple programs like that that the kids
Mhm.
don't. The problem is that the kids don't always ask about it. They don't always find out about them in time, and so
And why do the kids
definitely,
have to ask about it? Why aren't we setting up, I believe that we need to do this from 8th grade, really, is set up like similar to how colleges have college fairs, you should have vocational fairs for kids going into high school, knowing all of the availabilities that are available to them, all the options that are available to them to get a certification. And so
yeah.
if more students knew what the different trades that are available that they could take while in college, high school, then we would have them better prepared.
Right. And to that point, I agree. I think Florida, we're doing a pretty good job of that here, but I think also the payback on that is then getting the kids that go get those certifications and bringing them back to talk to the middle schoolers and to the
That would be
rising high
amazing.
school
Yes.
freshmen, right? We do the same thing for my ROTC unit. You know, we'll send for recruiting trips. We'll send down the kids that have came from those middle schools that are in the program that are now like sophomores or
Mhm.
juniors or finding success so they can see, hey, that there's a connection there. I knew that person when I was in, 5th grade, 6th grade, and they were in
Right.
eighth grade. And now I'm getting ready to go to high school. And the high school transition is very scary. And so
For
if
a
the
lot of,
kids can see
yes, middle school.
it, it's a big one. Yeah, it's a big transition. And so if they can see a connection into, especially into a program, they might definitely lean into that direction.
Definitely.
And the other thing I love about the trade space is just there's always opportunity for work in those arenas, and it was similar to the military. Like I'm the kind of person that hate to see people that use the military as a last option, right? I mean, I love serving my country, and I encourage my students to do whatever they want to do. But if you have a passion for service to your country, definitely consider that route because there's going to be a lot of good things that can come from it, depending upon what you choose to do with the time and your years of service and whatever it may be.
Correct. Yes.
And it's the same thing with trade school, right? Don't just think about that as an option because you decided a 4-year university is not for you, right? Look at it as because you could actually think about a person that goes and gets like an air conditioning or repair certification at 18 years old. Arguably, by the time they're 25 years old, they could be doing very well,
Very
right?
much. Yeah. A lot of these trades are six-figure jobs,
Yeah, for
electricians,
sure.
welders, you name it.
I'm trying to get my son. My son is trying to go to the Florida State Fire College, and that's because he doesn't really feel like joining the military because his dad drug him all over the world as he was growing up,
Right.
you know. But he enjoys the paramilitary construct. He enjoys the structure. He enjoys the
Mhm.
camaraderie, and we talked about it. And I was a firefighter in the Navy for the first 16 years of my career, and so he
Oh,
grew up
wow.
seeing that connection. And I said, look, we need firefighters for the community. We need law enforcement officers. We need firefighters. We
Yes, we
need
do.
people that want to serve the community, right? And you don't always make the most money doing it, but it's a very rewarding path. Uh,
Definitely.
good things. And now I really appreciate the medical administration path as well. Did you ever get the chance to work in the hospitals and lead medical teams?
Oh, yeah. So I started out my career when I started my vocational school is because I was working at Grady Health System as a director of patient advocacy. and one of the programs in my department was interpreting services. And so I realized that there was a gap in the training and qualifying of these bilingual individuals. And so I decided to start my own program. But yes,
Mhm.
I've been in healthcare management for over 30 years.
So curious, right? In the Navy, we have medical administrative officers who are not doctors, right? And their
Correct.
job, like similar to what your path was, they were essentially the administrative leadership for the hospital. How complicated was it really in the hospital now leading professional medical providers
Mhm.
as a non-medical practitioner, or were they conditioned already to understand your role and their role, and they all understood the rules of how that worked together?
For the most part, every now and then they do try to throw their weight around clinically.
For
No,
sure.
but honestly, the business of hospitals is very complicated to a lot of them. They really want to just keep their blinders on and just do the medical stuff, the clinical stuff.
Yeah.
So business of healthcare is a whole different beast. Understanding
Mm,
insurance and understanding,
mm,
payment systems and all of that. And
right.
it changes constantly because the government's constantly changing what they will and will not pay for and you name it. So, yeah.
Okay. So the next question I would like to ask you is, I love that you're into the leadership space. It is my passion to be there. And one of the questions I'd like to ask you is about having a difficult conversation with someone,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? How would you approach, it's going to be a tough conversation, and you actually know that the person's not going to want to hear the words you got to say, but they must understand it because it's the reality, right?
Right. It's
And
one of the least fun things when you are a leader is having to coach. I call it coaching my staff. And
right.
so that is not a fun thing to do, but I try to approach it as a growth, for them. I try not to I've learned over the years, you just don't fire people, at the first offense. You give them lots of chances. I try to give them at least three chances, if not, 3 to 5 chances to improve and to show me that they've improved. And so we do that as a coaching session, right? Hey, here are the goals. Here is where here's areas where I think that you're meeting those goals, but here are some areas that you're not meeting those goals. And here's some of the improvements that I like to see. And then give them an opportunity to give their feedback. Why do they feel that they're not able to meet that goal? It might be a systems issue. Always realize
Mhm.
that when your employee is not meeting your expectations, it could be that you have the system set up incorrectly. But if it's not a system issue, you document obviously the coaching session and whatever specific uh, advice and feedback that
Yeah.
you've given them. And then you go from there. And so if you need to have another coaching session and another coaching session, so be it. If there is movement in the right direction, I hesitate to fire people. But if they're just stubborn and in their ways, the writing is on the wall, if you will. But
Right.
it's not fun. It's not fun having to coach someone, or especially having to fire someone. But it must be done at times.
When people think about leadership, they always think about getting carried on everyone's shoulders
Oh,
and everybody's cheering for you and you get to be this lauded figure. You're up there on the stage saying all the exciting words and everyone. My whole career, people have always said, "Gary, we would love to work with you." And I just kind of smile and say, "Yeah, until you do, bro." Because I'm relentless, right? I
right.
have there's a difference between being inspired, being around people, appreciating their energy, vice having to actually report to them, right? And
Right.
having to actually meet that, standard that they're probably carrying every day. And unfortunately, like you said, having those tough conversations, at least in my experience, similar to you, it's usually a result of something not going according to plan.
Right.
And I that's how you usually got more of my attention because I would like most of my coaching conversations to be just because somebody really wants to do better and they come and ask me for mentorship. But
Right.
reality is it's unfortunately we didn't meet the mark somewhere and now we got to figure out how to get out of the soup, right? We got to
Right.
figure out how to fix this problem. And
Yeah.
it's almost always tense because people are defensive, people are worried, they're
Hmm.
afraid, and I loved how you said it, look, I'm gonna go ahead and set the goalposts here. We're gonna try to make this be better, not worse. We're gonna try to here's some of the hopes that I have for this. Hopefully they can buy into that and
Yes.
and then lay out the way ahead, get their feedback, especially looking at the SIM systems, things that are beyond their control that could have helped assist in the downplay of the incident, and then moving forward. One thing I've learned since I've come to the civilian sector is that there's always this perception that it's easy to fire, right? And I didn't have that in the military because in the military it
You
took
can't
like
fire.
you can't fire nobody, right? You
Right.
really got to play the hand that you're dealt. But what I tell the people I meet in the corporate sector is if you really think there's that many good people waiting to fill your position, I kind
There
of
are.
think you're crazy. There's
Yes.
not.
Mm-mm.
Right? It's almost better to work with the people you already have under your
Yeah.
umbrella versus trying to always rehire, re-onboard, and
And
bring somebody else onto your team, right?
let me tell you this, two things with firing people is number one, it's expensive training, right? Training someone new is very expensive. And number
Right.
two, it affects the morale of the others because everyone now is looking over their shoulder. And when you
Yeah.
have poor morale, you don't have the best of people. You're not able to get them fully motivated. So you have to really think twice if you want to fire someone. Now, firing someone that is bringing the morale down is actually a good thing. So
Mhm.
if someone's just not carrying their weight and everyone notices that or they're complaining to you that they're not carrying their weight and you keep them around, that's not a good. But most of the time, you're able to coach people, and I try to make sure that every annual eval is a coaching session. So
Right.
even if they're a rock star, we're gonna, tell you all the good things that you did. We'll try to find something that you can improve on. So everyone knows evaluation is going to be a coaching session.
That's a good news story, though. I mean, because we did those in the military too. We did our annual evaluations, and I do them as a teacher, but they almost feel like, hurry, come in, sign this piece of paper, get back to work because you're doing a good job. And so if you're not doing a good job, you have the conversation. But if you're doing a good job, it's almost minimal contact. And I have always appreciated the opportunity as when I became a senior and I became one of the persons that was a top tier leader that was then evaluating the senior listed people or sitting down with them and giving them the guidance because they would, no kidding, come to me after their sit down with their annual evaluation and come to me and say, all right, explain this to me and what's the way ahead for me because they wanted that mentorship.
Right.
And it's that trust and hopefully hearing what you have to say. And hopefully leaders are taking that time to have that conversation with the person that really wants to grow with the organization, right?
Exactly.
Because if you don't
Everyone
feel
wants
like
to grow. Everyone wants
that's
to
it,
improve. Right.
yeah, we're like
Or most people. Let's just say that most people want to
I,
improve.
I believe human beings are built to grow, right? We're built to grow. I feel like we were put on this earth to develop, to have experiences, and to learn and to grow. And if you don't feel fulfilled, you're probably going to struggle some at an organization.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so I think a piece of that would be getting that counseling in. And so for my next question for you is, how can you leverage? I use faith every day.
Yes.
Uh, I was curious as to if you leverage faith as a strategy in which you approach things in life as a leader, because unfortunately, as a leader, we don't always have the answers, or there may not always be exact information. But I think often leaders have got to leverage faith, whether it's faith in a higher power, faith in the
Yes.
team, faith in the organization, faith in yourself. Just curious, out of your years of experience, how have you best learned to leverage faith?
It is the anchor for me. I don't think I could make the decisions that I make or the moves that I make without it. A lot of people tell me, how have you accomplished all these things? And I'm like, it's my faith in God. He really directs everything that I do. I try my best. Sometimes I'm not on, 100%, but I try my best to prioritize my my goals in this way. God first, husband second, my children third, and then everything else falls under that. And that includes my career, that includes my community involvement. I try to, be involved in my community as much as possible. but I do consult with God on a daily basis on decisions that I'm making. And so I do believe that it gives me an extra uh, really, an extra layer of peace and an
Mhm.
extra little bit of discernment and wisdom on decisions that it could go either way. A lot of decisions that we make as leaders, you just don't really know how they're going to pan out. But if I consult
Mhm.
God about it, I have peace about it, and I know that it's going to work out in the end. So I'm okay. So it does give me a lot of, it really does. It gives me a lot of peace knowing that He's got my back.
One of my favorite things about having faith, in particular, a belief in a higher power, and the ability to know that prayer works,
It
and,
does.
and just having felt that it works for me, right? And whether I don't care whether people call it meditation, whether they call it manifestation, whether they call it prayer, whatever you're using to best communicate with God, go ahead, do your thing,
I do
but
believe they're
understand.
two different things, by the way, prayer and meditation, because I do both of them. Yes.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
for me, they almost come together very similar. I'm not even gonna lie to you, like because
Okay.
I'm sending very similar messages, right? I'm looking typically for support in something I'm working through, or just life in general, or best trying to know that I'm serving according to how God would best want me to serve. Right. That's
Definitely.
that's always a fear that I have. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is really the best thing for the team, right? And not just what Gary thinks is what I
Right.
should be
Right.
doing, right? Because I believe that if you do things in the heart of service, it's so much more valuable than if
Mhm.
you're just doing it because you want a victory or you want a win or whatever it may be. Now, I
Right.
am curious as to hear your perspective on meditation versus prayer, if you don't mind.
Yes, for sure. So I am a big believer in prayer. I believe, like you said, prayer changes things. God hears, the effective and fervent prayer of a righteous man, availeth much. He hears prayers that are prayed in authority. And I'm a believer in that. For
Mhm.
me, meditation is different in that it's more about breath, deep breaths. So you were in the Navy, right? And so I teach
Mhm.
a lot of the people on the box breathing.
Oh
And
yeah.
so for me, that is so essential for if I'm feeling nervous or anxious for whatever reason, I go into that. I go into deep breathing and meditation. And so, prayer for me is about communicating with God back and forth. But meditation is about really taking kind of control of my emotions and just kind of making them just as calm as possible. And so it's just, I do a lot of deep breathing, the take in, hold,
Right.
and breathe very slowly out. And then I try to just focus on my breathing, and that's what meditation's all about.
Got it. And definitely, I do the same thing. And it's just a way for me to calm the nerves, right?
Correct. Yes.
Especially if I'm triggered or I'm concerned about something or if I'm upset, right? It's a resetting. Another one of my favorite things, back to prayer real quick, is I don't always have the chance to like maybe go talk to my wife about something, or I might not
Mhm.
even know the words I want to say before a conversation with somebody. And one of my favorite things about prayer is just I'm able to not worry so much about what I'm saying as just getting it out and sharing it and asking for support, asking for help, asking for
Yes.
guidance, asking for all of those things. And truth be told, it's typically after the prayer I get to do the box breathing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just because you're typically uh I'm probably not as consistent as I should be to a clock, right? When it comes to prayer,
Mhm.
I'm not a morning, noon, and night person, but it is one of my go-tos, especially uh when I'm really worried or concerned or optimistic or when I feel the
Mhm.
spirit, right? When I feel the
Yeah.
spirit. And one thing I talk to people about in particular, people that feel like they have no one to talk to. I said,
Mm.
well, there's always
Mm.
someone listening. There's
Oh, yeah.
there's all there's
Absolutely.
always someone listening. Hit your knees, man. Hit your knees. There's
Yes.
always someone listening. So, next question I got for you is say like you're taking over a team, say like you're going to a position, for example, you're running for the position of the superintendent of schools in your state. We could talk some more about that here in a little bit, but it's like you get the job, or if you go to a team that has different teams that are not on the same page,
Mhm. That
right?
happens often.
It does. It really
Yeah.
does, especially when a new senior leader's coming in. Because
Correct.
one thing I've learned throughout my career, people are always jockeying for position. People
Mhm.
are always trying to get their best reasoning as for why the change should not affect their department or their team or themselves in a way that they don't like. How do you best lay down the groundwork and move into that space as the leader that's coming in to hopefully blend or resolve those issues?
So I always try to start off with like a full like staff meeting, right? Whenever I
Hmm.
get a new position, and I try to lay out my vision. And then I meet individually with the people that report directly to me. And I try to find out what their concerns are and how my vision fits in with their vision, because oftentimes
Hmm.
when you have those one-on-one conversations, you find out really quick whether or not someone is even in support of your vision, or maybe they don't understand your vision, or maybe they've tried something similar and it didn't work, and they can give you those insights. So I try to meet with every single one of my the people that are reporting directly to me, because it's oftentimes a large team, but they have people that report to them. Now, I'm very much, how can I say this, in support of listening to my staff. You know what I mean? So if my staff have really great ideas, I'm like, great, let's adopt that. If
Hmm.
especially if it fits within the vision, the big vision that I've laid out. I'm not opposed to utilizing everyone's talents and ideas. But really and truly, I try to make sure that I'm supporting them as well. So a really good question to ask is, how can I support your goals? Maybe it's not goals within the organization. It might be that they're trying to get a degree outside, or maybe retiring in the next 5 to 10 years or something to that effect. How can I support your goals? And so we can support each other. Uh, a lot of times, if you realize in those one-on-one meetings that that person is really on their way out, a lot of people stay on jobs. They're kind of like, whether they call it, they're not really quitting, but they're quitting while they're working. There's a name
Hmm.
for that. You can tell that as well. If someone is just in a position just to get a paycheck versus really wanting to be engaged and involved. And
Definitely.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
that happens
And
often,
then,
unfortunately.
yeah, in the military, we'd call it like being retired on duty, right? They
Right,
were
right.
they were trying to coast. They'd have 18 months left until they transferred, or and very similar to you. My process was almost exactly the same. I was a command master chief, so my job would go to any command I would go to. I was the new senior enlisted leader, and so one thing I would do was I would always assemble all the senior enlisted leaders for the whole command, and
Mhm.
I would give them my pitch, right?
Right.
Here's my stump speech. Boom. And then I would uh not so much take questions that first time, but I would give them my stump speech and let everyone hear it and let them all just whoa, take it on board, right?
Right. Take
But that
it
would
in.
also make but I would make commitments, right? I'm gonna sit down with everybody over the next period of time and we're gonna get to know each other and it'd be relatively quickly, right? Because the intention there was to do exactly what you said. I want to find out very quickly who are the shakers, who are the movers, who are the ones that want to work with me, who are the ones that don't, right?
Exactly.
And figure out real very quickly who the players are and figure out what are some wins I can get to get some momentum going in my direction that the people are looking for. And then after meeting with everybody, I typically would then take I would have identified like trends based off my meetings. I'd bring them all together again. This is my strategy, about another month or so later,
Mhm.
and say, all right, I got through everybody and here's my concerns and I want you guys to tell me what you think about them, and that's my way to
Mhm.
get feedback back from the whole group. But in my community, I was very fortunate. We were very willing to communicate in the wide open,
Oh,
right? We
good.
had we were in the military, especially senior enlisted. We're more than happy to throw each other under the bus in front of everybody. you know
Okay.
be careful what you wish for because they'll throw the grenades out at you, and that's okay because I'll get them talking, right? I always believe that as long as the people are talking, you're doing something right. It's when they stop talking, you got problems.
You have to worry when they stop talking. Yes.
Yeah.
Or might be
Yeah.
bringing a knife to stab in your back.
Well, and that's another thing I've learned about the civilian community, uh, especially corporate. They're very, 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 very careful about what they say in public,
Mhm.
right? Because they're worried about those things. Now, I will tell you in the teacher community and in the public education community where I work at now, oh, those teachers have no problem letting you know what they think. You
Yes.
have a teachers meeting and they will tell you their concerns. They will tell you their problems. So I think that strategy works pretty good for like a principal or
Mhm.
somebody coming into a school that needs to take over. I do look at principals and their leadership teams as very similar to corporate leadership, right? They have got the challenge of running these businesses essentially that are schools raising kids.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah,
okay, so when you look at the getting ready for those speeches, do you have like your core values? Do you have things already put together that are like these are my core values as a leader, or are these things that you rewicker based upon the team you're going to be leading?
So I normally do have my core values, and for me, in healthcare, it's all about taking first and foremost care of my staff. I want my staff to feel like they're cared for and heard, and that's everyone that works for me, from housekeeper to the dietary to nurses and you name it, everyone. Because if they can, if and I let them know this, if you are cared for, I know that you're going to take care of my patients and my customers at the end of the day. So in a healthcare
Mm,
environment, it's really about making sure that they feel appreciated and heard. I can't wave a wand. Oftentimes they want higher pay, that usually has to go up the food chain. I can't make those decisions oftentimes, but I can definitely make um, their work day easier if they're heard and if they feel appreciated. And that's the number one thing that people want, really overpay oftentimes, is to
mhm.
just feel appreciated. And so I do try to convey that value, and so people can hear about it, and when I first arrived, and then they can decide after 3 to 6 months if I was, you know, blowing smoke, but usually they realize very quickly that I mean what I say. I can tell you an example. One of the last places that I working at, they didn't have a break room. And I was like, "What? The staff doesn't have a break room? What's going on with that?" And so we
Mm,
cr- we created a break room out of one of the rooms, really, the patient's rooms. And then the leadership, like the nurses, charge nurses, and things like that, they were complaining about it because people were spending too much time in the break room. And so they wanted to get rid of the break room. They actually got rid of it without consulting. And so I fought to
mm.
do that. It was just this whole battle. And I was like, oh my gosh. But there's just little things like that you have to do to make sure people you realize that you mean what you say. And I try to always do things like giving everyone a turkey at Thanksgiving, and to little employee appreciation things, throughout the year. So it's really important to take care of your staff. So that is definitely one of the values that I take from work, workplace to workplace.
Right.
Right.
Well, and what I'm hearing you say is you have to really understand what the people are hoping to get out of the experience and what recognition matters to them, right? And like you
Correct.
said, it may not always be a paycheck. When I was talking to the kids today at school about the cheese being moved and recognizing that the cheese may not always be literal cheese, right? For
Right.
one person, cheese could be, a house with their family. Another person, it could be a position of influence. It's just understanding whatever is driving you. What is your why? What is the thing that inspires you to want to get out of bed and do the best that you can do? In your leadership journey, if I was to ask you, top 3 to 5 things that you've learned across the board that are typically people's whys, right? Because I've kind of gotten my 3 to 5 that I think I've seen pretty consistently.
Mhm.
What do you think are the most consistent reasons that people typically want to find success or are looking for something that a leader can help them out with as their why?
Mhm. So I would say the first one is definitely appreciation, and that can come in different ways. So some people, it's giving them a gift, or others, it's just recognizing them in front of others,
Mhm.
so it just appreciation and finding out how to appreciate different people. Number
Right.
two, I would say work-life balance. And that looks different for different people. I have had staff that will work themselves to the bone as long as they can get a long vacation, So they don't mind
Mhm.
coming in and doing overtime every single day of the week, as long as when they get get ready to take some time off, that you are going to support them in that. And so they're your work hard, play hard people. Others,
Yep.
they just want to be able to leave early so they can take care of their children or their elderly parents. If they have an emergency, they don't want to have to give too much of an explanation. So just being able to identify what work-life balance is for people, I think is really important. And
Mhm.
then I always believe that growth, at some point you have to identify how to help someone grow, whether that is getting an extra certification, whether that is, giving them the space to go for additional training. One of the things that I like to do with my staff, especially those that report directly to me, is we'll read a book, a leadership book together. I'm grateful for Audible that I don't have to read it anymore, but I used to. But now I just put Audible on and we'll read, like, maybe, listen to a chapter together and just kind of discuss it. And we'll do that once or twice during our staff meetings. 10 to 15 minutes. And within 3 to 4 months, we've finished a book, and then I'll always give them a certificate of completion. But lo and behold, those leadership books, oftentimes a lot of them have never really taken the time to
Right.
expand their ability to lead, or their knowledge of leading. And
Right.
so whatever you can do to help your staff grow, I think is definitely a plus.
I love it. And here's what I heard. I heard making sure they understand that their contribution's valued, right? So
Yes.
they've got to know that they're valued. Making sure that they're compensated in a way that they value, right? Which is typically time, right?
Mhm.
And that
Yes.
they and they that's huge. And it was the same thing in the service, right? Really more than anything, even more than the paycheck, it was time. It was knowing that their time it would mattered, and that they got a fair compensation of time, and then development, right? Gotten the
Yes.
opportunity to be developed. And I think all those, if you could nail all three of those things as a leader, you're going to build trust, you're going to
Yes.
build excitement, you're going to find so much freaking success with your people, because they're going to be excited to come serve with you, because you're meeting them where they want to be at, where they want to be met. It's
That's
amazing.
correct.
All right, let's get into this. You are running for a position for the state of Georgia
Yes.
superintendent of schools. Is that correct? Like the whole
That
state?
that's the whole state. Yes, that's correct.
Woo! And is this you're finally getting to that political side of your career where you got the chance to be a leader in the medical world, and you got to lead all
Exactly.
these teams, and now you finally get to come full circle?
That is correct. And my kids are older, and so I too truly believe that this is the time that I'm able to do that.
Right.
I often tell people, you can do it all, just not all at the same time. You have seasons in life. And so my season up till now was to, really prioritize my family. My children are
Right.
young. And so I needed to make sure that I was raising up good kids first and foremost before I went off into the world. But
Right.
yes, I do truly believe that my passion of, being in public policy and advocacy has never left. And so now I
Mhm.
get to really go delve full throttle into that arena.
So I'm curious, Dr. Lee, why do you think you would be the best superintendent of schools for the state of Georgia?
So I'll tell you where we're lacking in Georgia, and you tell
Okay.
me. So we are currently ranked 38 out of 50, and that's a decline under the current superintendent of schools, who's running again. Okay, he's going on. This is
Mm,
his 12th year, and we've only seen decline. 70% of our fourth graders are not proficient in reading, and that's a decline. 76% of our eighth graders are not proficient in math, and that's a decline under his leadership. So first and foremost, I'm running because we need new leadership. And second, most of the people that are running against me have never ran, had a business that to run. They don't have like the organizational expertise and leadership that I bring to the table. Not only did I have my own trade certificate or trades program for 20 years, but I also homeschooled my son. My son was on the spectrum, and I homeschooled him through the 5th grade. I was an adjunct professor. I taught online for many years. I was a substitute teacher, so I know about the different types of learning styles. And so I truly bring all of that knowledge to the table. So my leadership experience, as well as I know what it's like to teach someone from the ground, from ground zero all the way up. And I want to prioritize literacy. And so one of the things that I did when I homeschooled my son is I taught him phonics. And you'll be surprised how many schools went away from phonics, Gary. And now we're reaping the rewards of that. Of
Yeah.
children, high schoolers and people going off to college not knowing how to read because we went away from the basics. So let's go back to the basics. Let's make sure that we are prioritizing reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? So that we are giving those kids the best foundation possible so that they can learn and grow.
Oh, man, I think it takes a lot of courage to want to be in a public position of leadership, and I understand it very well. In my last posting in the Navy, I was the Master Chief for Naval Base Guam during COVID,
Oh,
right? So I
wow.
was I was at an island in the South Pacific Sea, federally, covered down where we were covering all the fleet, but we had all these families living over there. We owned the school,
Mm,
we owned the clinic, and during a pandemic, and it was tough, because
yes.
it's one thing to be deliberate with like military members, but their families are a whole different ball game, right? And then coming to the school system as a public school teacher, as a ROTC teacher, working with the kids and their parents, that's another thing that can be great, right? Because a lot of them are going to be very thankful for your work and they're
Yes.
going to be thankful for what you're doing. But then sometimes some people are unhappy for whatever their reasons, and they can be just pistols. They can be
Right.
it could be, and I get it. It's people's kids, and nobody wants to hear the bad news. Or people, to your point about the education thing, it's super sad when you see a young person who's getting straight A's in school, but cannot pass a standardized test,
Mhm.
right? They're getting straight A's, but they cannot pass the SAT with a good enough score to go to the local community college or to even get into that trade school, right? I've seen that
Right.
to where kids had to get more schooling to get the right scores that they needed to then enroll into any kind of an after high school education program. And it's
Mhm.
sad because they're getting good grades, but the classes are not always as challenging. Because what I learned is there's like 4 different levels of class, right?
Yes.
You've got like these highest levels that are almost college equivalent, but the
Yes.
lowest level, it just makes you feel good about yourself and you get to
That's
graduate with
about
this
it.
diploma that doesn't mean anything, right? Like ultimately you got a diploma, but you can't barely spell. And
No rigorous. And we need to change that. Yes. We need
it's
to make
it's
sure that
tough.
we're training children for success in the real
Yeah.
world. Mhm.
It is. It's tough. It's heartbreaking. I see these kids go from being. I tell them during their freshman year, sophomore year, if you're not worried a little bit about high school, you're probably not taking the challenging classes you need to be taking. Like there should be. If you never have homework and you're a high school student, you should not be that happy. Like it's a
Right.
problem. You're probably not challenging yourself. But
Mm,
Master Chief, I got straight A's. I get it. But my concern is going to be when you take the SAT in 11th grade, now it's almost too late. Like, because
right.
you've waited until your junior year to realize you did not get the skills you need. And it, but the other reason why I think it's good for kids to take higher level classes is typically in those classes, more kids are actually focused on trying to learn.
Yes.
Unfortunately, at those lower level classes, kids are just kind of being corralled there and being monitored for the day, but they're not
And
really trying to learn,
they're
right?
not. They're not. And but is it really their fault though, or is
Mhm.
it just school's fault that we're not giving these children all the tools necessary to succeed in life, so they can
Yeah.
learn things that they definitely could use to succeed in life. I mean, if you don't want to teach
Yeah.
them algebra, at least teach them business. How to read a P&L, right?
Yeah.
Or how to balance a checkbook, for heaven's sake. But it's really the school's fault if all we're doing is corralling them. That's a waste of resources and waste of their time.
I will tell you one thing for our local high school. My son, during his junior year, he did take a class that was like essentially home ec, and they did
Okay,
like writing a checkbook and balancing budgets and all that stuff. And then
good.
this year, he had to take an economics class. But what I will also tell you is I feel like it's a whole holistic thing. The community's got to play a role in this. The churches have got to play a role in this. The parents have the most important role, in my opinion,
Exactly.
in
Yes.
in encouraging their children to want to get an education and to want to get the competitive scores for opportunities after high school. And then, of course, the teachers have an obligation to bring the heat, right? We got to bring the energy. We've got
Yes.
to bring that. And it's hard to get motivated about teaching when the pay is not always, I mean, if you're doing teaching, you're not doing it for the pay. I'm just here to tell you.
No,
The
no, you're not.
the I, I feel like in our country in particular, the pay for medical personnel and the pay for education, public education personnel is completely backwards,
We need to flip
right?
it.
I really no, I feel like those two positions of employment, medical and public education, should be some of the highest valued occupations in our society,
Yes.
right? If you're a person who's choosing to take care of people when they're hurt, when they're sick, when they're going through some of the most traumatic times of their life, that compens whether you're an LPN, an RN, a pick your flavor from the bottom to the top, right?
Mhm.
There should
Should be
be some
welcome.
serious compensation for that person. And then for these people, I mean, I think school bus drivers should make good money,
Yeah.
right? Because they're being paid to move our children around the city, and they've got to deal with the noise and the sounds, and we expect them to do all this high level thing. And unfortunately, most of us can't even get enough people to fill the jobs because the pay is so lousy.
It is. It's horrible.
Right. And I just think about that from the perspective of a person who I lived overseas most of my career in the military, and we would take care of our community because we were all connected. Whereas in society back in the States, it's kind of we're very big, we're very sprawled out, and everybody doesn't always know their community. But I
Mhm.
feel like I would love to see a path where somehow public educators, people that worked in the public school system, school bus drivers, medical personnel, emergency services, law enforcement, all of them got better pay, because I think ultimately without those people in those jobs, we don't always get the best quality people that want those positions, if that makes sense.
It does. And here's the
Um,
thing, here in the state of Georgia, over 50% of our budget is spent in administration. 50%, not to the
mm,
teachers, not to the schools,
right.
that goes to the students. And so if I become superintendent of schools, that's one of the areas that I would like to really hone in on. Like, why are we so top heavy? And where can we make some cuts?
Well, I think that's one of the things we're seeing from what's happening in the federal government, right? We're seeing
Correct.
that and I will tell you again, coming from the military perspective, I used to get really frustrated from all the government civilian employees. While I liked them and they were great people, I would always feel like there was a lot of them, and one military person could do like five of their jobs.
Right.
But the difference between us and them is we transfer every 3 years. They don't, right? So they had that longevity and that historical context. But I agree. Unfortunately, we blow our some of our government positions out with administrators, and we lose focus on the people that are actually doing the jobs,
Right.
right?
For sure.
And so I hear you on that. And hopefully you're able to get that across the finish line, because if I've learned one thing from my career, it's when you bring change to a government organization, people tend to get real squirrely real quick.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
they bring out their pitchforks. For
they
sure.
really do, because they're playing the long game, and it's not typically somebody that wants to uh, come out of that cocoon relatively fast, right? If you're
Exactly.
going the speed of government, you're more than happy with a slow pace, right?
Oh
But to
yes,
your
yes.
But to your point, if you're failing your customer, right, which is the kids, then that should be unacceptable, right?
It is.
And how you're quantifying failure sounds pretty straightforward. It's just the math, right? Do the math, and you're going to see that we're not finding success, right? Well,
Yes.
I wish you all the best of luck in that, and I hope everything works out for you. When do you find out if you get the position?
So the primary is May 19th. And like I said,
Okay.
there's 5 of us, including the incumbent. And then if I'm successful there, we go off to the general election, which will be in November.
So the primary, including the income, is this based off the primaries? Is it based off political parties as well,
Correct.
or is
Yes,
this?
it's
It
political
is.
parties. So this is
Okay.
a
So
partisan position.
so 5 of you are all in the same party.
Yes, on the Republican side, yes. Mhm.
Woo! 5 Republicans in the state of Georgia going for that job. How many are on the Democrat side?
I believe there's 3 of them on the Democrat side.
Okay, but it sounds
Yes.
like a Republican's been holding the position for quite a while.
Yes, yes. So going on
Dang,
12
man.
years. Yes, he needs to go.
Yeah, you
Time
gotta
to
move
go,
on.
buddy.
Time to grow, time to develop. Time
Yes.
to, you know what I'm saying? Truth be told, I feel like if you're at the same job, possibly as a leader, I mean, I don't know. I come from the world that I'm moving every 3 to 4 years. On the reverse side, and I plan on being at my high school ROTC position till, I plan on doing this for quite a while. But it's hard not to leave when I see all those other opportunities out there in the world. I can smell it, taste it, but then I keep telling myself, Gary, focus. You're a high school
Focus.
teacher now. It's okay. And be good. I love my kids. I do. I
Right.
do.
Well, here's the thing.
But
In politics, I don't think the founding fathers ever intended politics to be a career, right?
yes, I
And
agree,
so
ma'am. Yes,
I,
ma'am.
I I'm a big believer in term limits. I think that 2 terms is enough time to make a difference. If you're wanting to stay in politics longer, then move on to another position. Let fresh
Yeah.
blood kind of move in every so often. We need fresh perspective. We need people with different energy to shake up, right? To shake up
Yes, ma'am.
government agencies oftentimes. So that's my
1000%.
philosophy, and I've said it in other podcasts, and I'll say it again. If I am the superintendent of schools, I will serve 2 terms in that position, and that's it. No more than that.
Nice.
Mhm.
No, I think, and leadership by example, right? And I think showing people that if you don't get it done in 2 terms, next man up, right? Give somebody else
It's
the
time for
opportunity to
fresh
get it done.
leadership. Exactly.
Time for fresh leadership. All right, Dr. Lee, as we land this thing, I kind of like to do like a rapid fire question and answer thing.
Let's
Okay. Are
do
you
it.
ready?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So on the ship on the weekends, typically Saturday nights, we usually get a special meal, and it's usually pizza and chicken wings. So
Okay.
question would be, which one would you be looking forward to more, pizza or wings?
Chicken wings. I am a lemon pepper dry rub girl any
There
day.
you go. All right. I like it. All right. So next question. So on the ship, we all sleep in a place called the berthing. That's essentially where all of the beds are at. That's where the showers are at. And it's really some place that people like to go because it's air conditioned, and they like to
Okay.
go clean the berthing because you're out of the way. Right. The other thing we do on the ship is called working parties. And this is where the food's getting sent over. We've got to move a bunch of heavy boxes. It's typically a lot of heavy work, and it's hot. Would you rather go to the berthing, or would you rather go to the working party?
So what's the upside of the working party?
So there's music typically. There's a lot of fun conversation. There's usually a lot of people down there. It's kind of loud, right? And
Yeah, that's
you
kind
can
of
really
like my
cut
scene.
loose.
I like that. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. No,
I
it's definitely no, they're both a vibe for sure. I like it.
got it.
All right. If we were gonna watch a movie, would you rather watch a De Niro movie or a Pacino movie?
I like Pacino.
All right, I like Pacino
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Good for you.
Mhm.
Um, have you always lived in the state of Georgia?
Not always. I lived in Hawaii for about 10 years. My parents were military as well, and then I did most
Okay.
of my education, my college education there. Mhm.
Okay, so I was gonna ask you, looking back on your life, where's your favorite place you either lived or visited?
I would say Hawaii. I loved living there. I just didn't like the cost of living. If the
Right.
cost of
Yeah.
living was better, I would have stayed there for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Hawaii is an amazing island. It really is.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay. Looking back on your education path, or on everything you've kind of done throughout your life, what was the most challenging certification, piece of education, achievement that you think you had to go through in your life?
Getting my doctorate, and not for the reasons that you think. So I love studying. I always was a straight A student in high school all the way In college, I got very good grades. But then when I got to my doctorate, I finished all of the coursework. And then I still had my dissertation, and that's called ABD. Have you heard of that term? All but dissertation. Well, one thing I did not realize was dissertation is not about how much you know. It's really very political. You have three people deciding your future, basically, and
Yeah.
they all have to agree. And
Right.
so it's very subjective. It has very little to do with the quality of your work. It's really how well you manage these people. And so it was very frustrating to me because I didn't have a lot of control over the process. It wasn't about just studying and passing a test anymore, or
Right.
doing a paper and getting it graded. So it was very, very challenging. I had PTSD over my PhD process for years. It was just like, I didn't even want to talk about it. But now it's been some time now. I can say it was not so bad. But at the time, I thought it was the worst thing ever, having to go through
And
that dissertation process.
it's one of the main detractors. I've looked at it. I looked at going for my PhD, and that was one of the main reasons. I wasn't in the mood. I didn't have the appetite for it. I'm not. I'll find success other ways.
Right. There you go.
But so I totally understand that. I do. I totally understand that. Okay. Next question. Do you have a favorite movie or TV series?
I have a favorite genre, and that would be spy movies. I
Okay.
love spy movies with a lot of action. Give me any spy movie that has a lot of action. I am all for it.
Okay. Spy movies with a lot of action. My dad was big into James Bond, so I
Yeah,
get it
so I,
for
I
sure.
think that's where it came from, because my dad loved James Bond, and I just anything that's spy movie, I'm all over it.
Okay. Would you rather be independent or on a team?
So I've talked a lot about teams, right? But
Mhm.
really, at the end of the day, I love my solitude. I'm one of those introvert extroverts, people. When I tell people I'm introvert, they're like, "No, I don't see it," and I'm like, I really do like my quiet time. Like all of my pastimes, my things that bring me a lot of joy are very solitary things. I love to read. I love to run. I love swimming. All of those things,
Right.
are very solitary endeavors. So
It's important that you understand that about yourself,
yeah,
especially as you got to find a way to recharge. I like
there you
you.
go. Yes,
I'm an introvert that trained myself to operate like an extrovert because
right.
it's what the job entails, right? It's what was required of me. But I come home at the end of the day and I just want to lay on the couch and melt. I'm
And
just
then
exhausted,
yes,
right? And the kids at my school and even my people in the military, none of them believe me. They're just like, no way, you're always so fired up. I tell them,
yeah,
this is my body managing the anxiety of getting through the day. It just comes across charismatic. But
right.
ultimately, it's me I'm freaking out trying to get through all this. And
Correct.
yeah, learning that about yourself is key. All right. Do you have you kind of talked about it already, but I'm going to give you an opportunity just one more time. Do you have a personal leadership philosophy?
hmm I
Okay.
see myself as a transformational leader. So I'm not dictatorial. I'm not laissez-faire. I'm someone that really wants to motivate people for a goal. So whenever I get a new position, I'm always, looking forward to, like, how can I leave this place better than when I found it? And so
Right.
in whatever flavor, that comes at, with, if it's an organization, can we make it, can we get some sort of award? Or can we improve on some metrics, that we're failing on? Or just improving, period. It doesn't need to be that we're failing something. It just, how can we improve as a team? And then I like conveying that to my team, and then for all of us working together towards getting that done. That just makes
Uh,
me very, very happy when I can say,
yeah.
after a year, 2 years at a position, that, guess what, we were here and now we're here, and we did that together.
I love it. And bringing a sense of urgency, bringing a sense of enthusiasm, and reminding everybody that we don't have forever. I mean, I know people want to feel like we do, but that's just not realistic. We only got a certain amount of time to make this place better. Let's do our best today, right?
Let's
Let's
get
do
it
our
done.
best.
Yes.
Let's go. Yeah. Okay. So in the Navy, in the Chiefs mess that I was a part of, we had these guiding principles. The first one is deck plate leadership, which is essentially you are leading by example, right?
Mhm.
Then the next one is institutional and technical expertise. That means you don't just understand how to be like a doctor, but you also understand how the hospital works, right?
Correct.
Like
Right.
you need to be both institutionally sound and technically sound. Our
Mhm.
next one was professionalism, which wasn't just you wore a good looking uniform, but it was
Yeah.
like you came to work with that bearing of like, I'm going to be productive today. We're going to do
Exactly.
good today. And then we're professionals.
Mhm.
There's character, which, again, you got to stand for something. There's loyalty, right? And we were not just loyal to the organization, loyal to the country, we were loyal to the team, right? There was active communication, so up and down the chain and making sure everybody got the message. And then there was a sense of heritage, like never forgetting where we come from so that we can
Mhm.
remember kind of what we're fighting for.
I
Out
love
of
that.
those, which one of those resonates with you the most?
A lot of them, Gary. I was going to say, send me that list again. That is awesome. I would say the active communication. Definitely, I noticed that teams that break down are teams that don't communicate up and down the chain. So, as I mentioned, I'm all about giving that message to my team, but then making sure that everybody, all the way down the chain, gets that information and try to be redundant with your, how you disseminate that information. I'll try to put it in written form. Have the team meetings where they hear it directly from me, and then have the one-on-ones, all of the above. But yeah, I would say communication is probably very, very important for a team to gel and to work together. Well,
Definitely. Okay. Well, Dr. Lee, so in the service, at the end of our meetings, we will ask if there's anybody with any saved rounds, which essentially means if you got any bullets in your gun you want to send my way, this is your opportunity. So is there anything you would like to possibly talk about that we have not hit on today and during our conversation?
I would like to just let your listeners know where they can find me, if that's
Let's
okay. I
do it.
have
Let's
my website is drnelvalee.com. I have my 4 books on there listed. I call them my written testimonies, Gary. And so definitely, if any of you readers would like to learn more about me or some of the challenges that I've overcome, they can definitely look those books up. They're all on Amazon. So I have the links on my website as well as other fun information, podcast interviews, speeches, my links to other my social media, things like that.
Amazing. And I will make sure that I package all that up as well with the podcast stuff and with all the YouTube videos and all that goes out there. So hopefully we can help people to find you because,
Yeah.
truthfully, when I started doing this whole podcast thing, I started a leadership development business, but then I realized I'm kind of busy teaching high school. Right. I didn't, all the people wanted to hire me during the day when I was teaching. So that didn't really work. And,
Right.
and then I was like, I gotta find a way to scratch this creative itch that I have. Well,
Mhm.
these kids got my cup so full that I just have so much energy for this kind of a topic. And then it was just, well, leverage social media, leverage YouTube to make yourself easier to find for people that are looking for you.
I love
Right.
that.
And
Yes,
and
that's
that's
really
it. And so there you go. So thank you very much, Dr. Lee, for taking some of your important time and sharing it with us. Thank you very much for everything you're doing for the state of Georgia. Hopefully you find success and be careful what you wish for. You
I know,
just
right?
might get it.
Yes.
Yeah. But I hope you get the opportunity to make Georgia a better place, right? And they can
I
hopefully
hope
do
so
it
as
good for
well.
those kids for
Mhm.
sure. All right, Doc. I appreciate you. I think that wraps us up for today.
All
Okay.
right. Well, don't forget to send me that list. It's a really
Oh,
good list.
yeah, I'll send you the dip class list in an email and make sure I will shoot you an email offline before I go to publish it so you can know everything that's coming out and make sure I got your links. Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Take
All
care.
right, Doc. Everybody, thank you for listening to the sounds of our voice. This is Words from the Wise. We will.
And I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know